Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
I'm always happy when
there you are. How are you?
Doing all right.
Excellent.
Just getting the computer working this morning.
That's all good.
We hear you. We totally hear you.
It's all good. We're just always happy. I'm always happy it's not me, because it's generally me.
Perfect.
So I like the fact.
Well, I'm glad to take a little off of your back today. You know?
I appreciate it. I appreciate it more than you know. I appreciate it more than you know.
Nobody can say I'm not a team player, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm looking at it that way, so I see it.
I see it. I love it. I love it. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
Glad we were able to get this done.
Yeah.
Sorry I had to reschedule before.
No, that's okay.
This one's been a while in the works, hasn't it?
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Much better. It was
I'm good.
Relatively short-lived but intense, and been doing well since. So
knocks you on your butt a little. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Or it can.
For sure.
I feel like hiding for a bunch of years, and then now any kind of illness you get, kind of like you it's like we got used to not being sick at all. So whether it's COVID or just flu, right? Like my kids have been going through cycles of flu, and they're just like, this is awful. I'm like, this is we used to
remember
do this,
when we used to always be sick all the time.
Always sick, and we'd always be just going to work and making everybody else sick. Like it was that's just how we did. That's how we rolled. Now we basically just shut down.
Well, when it was still appropriate, maybe it was never appropriate.
I don't think it was ever appropriate.
Yeah, like when I worked in Benelin, right? Like cough cold brand, and we just like, hey, you're sick. Here's a subway token. Like go get on the
go spread it.
Go get on a bus. Go get just start shaking hands and doing some stuff like that. Like
I was a retail buyer for a drugstore chain. I bought OTC and vitamins.
Yeah, cough cold.
What, are you kidding me? We loved cold season. We wanted allergy season. That was what business was. I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean,
where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Well, it drives people into the pharmacy.
Yeah.
I mean,
but not cool.
It isn't cool. It's terrible.
I was talking to someone who reviews like health claims for disability or something, and I was talking to him saying, it's funny how when your industry is booming, it means things are going wrong. And I work in kind of the healthy, better for the world brand environment. So I'm like, when my industry is booming, that means hopefully things are getting better.
Yeah.
So we're on opposite sides of the coin. Yet he's in the business of healing, so nothing against him. But it's just
it's
weird
funny,
being
right?
in one of those industries where when your industry is booming, it means stuff's broken.
Exactly. And we have a few things broken these days. So
quite a few.
Quite a few things. Quite a few things.
Broken is our middle name.
It feels like it, doesn't
Maybe
it?
even our first name.
It sort of feels like it. I read your post this morning on LinkedIn, your Christmas
the holiday
post.
guide.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I'm reading it, I'm kind of laughing at you because I'm thinking, oh my God, he's like us. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's funny though, because you think the same thing. It used to be a time of, and I don't care what religion or what affiliation you have, because most of the planet participates in the family aspects of what it should be, the social aspects, and the getting together and time with friends and family and loved ones, yada yada yada, right? All that stuff seems to have taken a complete backseat to everything retail, everything bought, sold.
Yeah, it was kind of the original point, right? But now it's like you said, maybe 5% of the holidays now. Everything else is just
everything else is just a rush to buy,
or activities, or things we have to participate in, or things we feel forced to, or a million work parties, a million social parties. Like it's just all these things that I get that people love the time off and the time with family and friends and the sense of giving and caring and all that stuff's great. It's just all the other things that have been manufactured to make profit off of these holidays that I have a problem with.
And I totally understand that. And I think because even the stuff you're talking about, all the stuff they should be doing, is such a small part of it now. Like it really isn't the driving. It's not necessarily the driving force. I mean, we still do it. I mean, we still do it because
Yeah.
we like getting family together and all that stuff. But I don't
But
spend way too
even
much time worrying about what gifts to buy, how much to spend,
exactly, yeah.
right?
But even the getting together can be stressful because of exactly that. It's like, oh crap, I need to pick up something, a gift, or did I get them the right thing, or what do they even want? And it becomes more of a burden than what it was originally intended for.
I know,
It's just
which
like
just come
giving
over.
out, giving something that you know they might like or that came from your heart. But now it's just this pressure of like finding the right gift in a world where we can all, let's be honest, most of us can just go buy whatever we want for Christmas, right? Obviously there are people who aren't quite as privileged, but like most of us can just go online and find the obscure thing that we want.
Yeah. And
so
by
like
January 2nd
gifting has become less necessary, but now it's high because of that. It's like more pressure almost.
You know, the one that we've got to figure out how to give is we've got to figure out how to give time. Because I think like this week, like it's only Tuesday, but I think of the conversations I've had, like the conversations I had yesterday and Sunday were, and everyone was like, I've got to figure out how to take some time off. Like, and it wasn't like I need more time with family. It was, I just need some time off. Like I'm feeling crispy burnt out. I need to, somebody actually said that to me yesterday. I was like, so you're feeling burnt out? He's like, no, I'm crispy. Like I'm done. Crispy. Like I gotta find a way to just stop, right? Like and not do anything.
That's not a good feeling though. That's not
well, it's actually good. Like you think the pandemic, we all kind of like condition ourselves to like be able to last it, but for anyone who didn't like physically get sick in it, mentally, I don't think anyone can say they came out of it and went, yeah, we're good, right? Like we can just roll back into what we're doing now, kind of like building things, selling things, moving along without knowing that we're going to take a second and take a break somehow, right? Got to figure out how to give that as a gift.
Yeah. And how do you do that?
Like, I don't know how you do
by
that
the
either.
gift of time, because it's not like you can just start a GoFundMe and be like, we're going to raise $1,000 so you can take some time off and go on vacation or something like that. Because a lot of people, whether it's real or felt, it's hard to unplug because you're so plugged into the system that if you're not there, things aren't moving. Like for me as a entrepreneur, like sure, I've got team members who can do a lot of work, but we're a tiny business and I wear lots of hats. And if I'm not there, some of those things aren't happening. And then when I get back, all the things that weren't happening piled up. And now I'm like more stressed than when I needed the break in the first place. So for me, like I don't even like going on long vacations typically because it's stressful working your way up towards it, because you have to get all these things done and get stuff arranged and prepare for your time off. And then you have all the stress of like, maybe you're traveling somewhere and there's, stress related with that. You get a little window of relaxation and then you get the panic mode set in of like going back to work. And then you get back to work and you've got this long pile of to-dos that you're supposed to catch up on and you feel stressed. So for me, I prefer to just like intersperse time off. Like I'd rather take a half day here, a full day there, a long weekend here, and just pace myself more than go and then take 2 weeks off, because that for me is just more stress than it's worth, actually.
Kind of sad though, right? When we get to that point, like we're when you're trying to allocate time for yourself or for others, and the whole process is just filled with angst and anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you're trying to find a de-stressful time, but to get there, you are stressed right out. Right? So like holidays, like you said, a 2-week holiday, first 3 days of the holiday, you're just wound and trying to unwind, and you're trying to let go of work. You let go of work by the 10th day, you're winding up because you're going back, you're all sort of stressed out. And if you're stilly, like some people maybe on this call, is that in between all that, you still have to check things because you don't want things to go off the rails to stress you out even more.
Yeah.
So like, do you ever get rest? I mean, I can't. We didn't have cell phones like when we were growing up. We just didn't. I mean, there was nothing. So if you went on holidays, like if you really wanted to connect with people, you had to go find a payphone.
Yeah.
Or you had to use the hotel phone, and that phone was $1 billion. So you just didn't phone anybody. I think the world still functioned. I think we still got through. Like, I don't know what happened. Why all of a sudden we're all that important that we can't take time.
Yeah. I mean, you maybe still had the pile up of work to do before you go and when you get back, but to your point, you weren't obsessively checking your phone every 2 seconds while on vacation.
Yeah.
So that
There,
at least
yeah.
maybe you got more actual relaxation.
Well, you had
while
to.
you
There was
were
no
on the
phone
trip.
and there was no computer. So what are you checking? If you
Yeah.
physically wanted a phone, you had to
Checking
go
the
find
newspaper every morning to make sure your name's not in the headlines.
I guess so. And that's
Something
a great
hasn't
one
happened to the
because,
company yet. Yeah.
but that's a good one too because it takes 3 days to get to the newspaper anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had lots of time.
So by the time you find out, your office is already burnt down.
It's already gone.
You can
It doesn't matter anymore.
now you can just relax.
Yeah.
You're free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
so how do we
man.
buy people time then? We just need to find a pause button, I guess, so that you're not away and stuff's piling up, but everything just gets paused. That's the ideal.
You know, the sad thing is the marketer in me started thinking about how to monetize.
Monetize
which
the
is
time
wrong.
You're like, great, and then their time off, we can sell them
Hmm.
ads.
How do I
Or
sell
you can
them
buy the
time
extra
off,
luxury
right?
time off package where
know.
you not only get time off, but you get your feet massaged too.
That's what I'm thinking. There's premium packages somewhere. You've got the basic time off and the ultra time off.
Yeah. Like the ultra time off would be you not only get that time off, but we'll also do a bunch of other work for you, like around your house. We'll finish those house projects.
We'll
do
clean your
chores,
emails even or something.
errands.
Like that'd be the ultra
Yeah,
one.
balance your checkbook,
Look at that.
Do
Maybe
people even use checkbooks anymore?
that's an interesting concept though. If you got someone to be your concierge for the afternoon, so that like if you wanted to chill out at home or whatever, you gave the person your phone. And so if it was urgent, right? Like if it was urgent, 911, my kid's fallen down, the school calling, that sort
House
of
is
thing.
burning, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they would intercept that call and get it to you like right away. Otherwise, everything else, I'll take a message. That's interesting. And then you could do it anywhere. You could be in your house, right? And just not.
You could also just put your phone down.
Right? Yeah. Solves a couple of them. Anyway, let's we could do this all day. Let's do an intro. So we've got Gage Mitchell on, and he's with Modern Species. And I've had a look at the site. Pretty cool stuff, right? So an agency of kind of new era, if you will. That kind of looks at I feel like I'm already butchering this. So what I'm going to do is I'll stop. Actually, we've got Gage on for Modern Species,
and he's going to tell us.
I think he runs a wicked agency that brings kind of agencies into the new world, and it feels, I think we're akin to you, where we try and make sure we look after clients in a different way than the old school format, and I think you are the same. So, but I'm going to stop there, and then we'd love to hear about you and Modern Species, how you got to where you were. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, yeah. So, Modern Species is my main gig that's been running for almost 14 years now.
Wow.
So we're starting to figure out what we're doing. But I like to, the short summary is that we help mission-driven brands grow so they can scale their impact. By mission-driven, I mean they might be organic, regenerative, fair trade, B Corp certified, 1% for the planet, some sort of better for you or better for the planet, something like that. They have a mission beyond just we're going to make a bunch of money. And we help them scale their impact by helping them launch a brand. So maybe they're starting from scratch. They don't even have a name. They just have an idea for a product or something like that. And we'll help develop the brand strategy, come up with a name, develop a brand identity, apply that to like packaging, websites, et cetera, and get them off the ground. Or, if they already have a brand that maybe needs some tweaking to align with the market, we'll help evolve the brand. Or if they're just a big established brand and need help communicating their impact a little bit better, we can come in and help them with impact reports or campaigns or something like that to make sure other people know all the goodness that they're doing. So since we're into mission-driven companies, we also try to operate the same way. So we're also B Corp certified and 1% for the planet and carbon neutral ourselves. And we just try to operate in the way that we think businesses should be run. And then like I mentioned before, we work with only mission-driven brands. So we also align our superpowers with companies that we think should exist in the world, the ones that we want to help succeed. And then we also have developed expertise over the years in sustainable design, socially responsible design, things like that, that help us make sure that the brands we're developing follow through on their promises and don't just fall on their face by making obvious mistakes or something like that. So that's the core of Modern Species, the brand agency. So like you said, we're called Modern Species because we like to continually evolve ourselves to try to learn and grow and figure out how to better help our clients and better help the world. But then we also try to help our clients' brands evolve to modern times and be what today's consumer needs and today's business environment needs, and so on and so forth. So it's all about evolution, essentially. So that's part of what you were talking about. We like to consider our agency an evolved agency where we're asking the right questions and trying to do the right things instead of just chasing portfolio pieces or dollars in the account or big brand names that we want to be able to brag that we work with. We focus more on what's the impact of this project and how can we help the world with this.
It felt like when when I was on the site, it felt like because sometimes you get to agencies and they do quite well, but they usually have a playbook of some sort. So when you get in there, they try and run you through the playbook to, you know, kind of get you to conform to what they need. But it felt like, you know, from the name and the branding, it just felt like you kind of seek to fit yourself with brands. I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but that's certainly what it feels
It's
like.
sort of the feel of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're pretty well known for, our clients appreciate about us, is that we are fairly flexible. We're just team players. Like I said, we're in it for the mission. So we'll meet brands where they're at and do our best to help them in whatever way we can. We don't necessarily run them through our fixed criteria of a project looks exactly like this and works exactly like this. We'll do what we can to be a part of the team and help them get across the finish line. Like a lot of our clients end up treating us almost as though we're part of their in-house team, or like some of our clients, we've been with the brand through multiple CEOs and multiple marketing directors and such, and we are basically the owners of the brand, the owners of the brand knowledge. Like we know what the brand's been through and what we've tried, what we haven't tried, and what works, what doesn't work. Right. And we can kind of help them continue that brand even as the organization changes or as the leadership changes.
And are you kind of a soup to nuts organization? So you can do everything from like the SEO stuff all the way through to campaigns and ads and all that kind of stuff?
We're more of a specialist agency. I'd say we focus on developing and evolving brands or whatever, but we do that primarily through the primary touch points of the type of companies we work with, which most of the companies we work with are in CPG. So that means packaging is one of the primary things for any brand going into retail. Websites, primary for any brands that are trying to do any D2C or even just grow awareness about their brand. And then sales, marketing, collateral, like supporting them and going to trade show booths or presentations with retailers or whatever. But we try to focus on just those areas. And then if you need PR or you need some flashy social media content or whatever else, we just direct you to people who are experts in those fields and collaborate with them in whatever way we can. We support their work and, you know, they support our work and we all do it together.
It's such a great focus, right? Like you think of how many brands in there don't, kind of shocking, right? How many years CPG has been around, and yet that process, it's not, you know, there's not many companies that do it that well, to be honest. I think
everybody rushes to the last parts though.
Yeah.
Right. So before they even really understand what they are, what they want to be, how they're going to get there, et cetera, they're all rushing to social media. Like they're all at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not.
Yeah.
When I listen to you, what I like about it is it's really more foundational. It's very basic. You're not doing anything necessarily rocket science, but you're doing stuff that people aren't focusing enough time on anymore. Right. The first thing you do is you have the idea. you rush through all the stuff that you should take the time with to get to Instagram and Facebook because you're going to sell for $1 trillion.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So the whole process, you're thinking, all right, but there was about 450,000 steps you needed to take before you even got to the package. Like take your time. Like, what do you want to do? Why are you doing this? To your point, like get some basics and foundational stuff done.
Yeah. And I think to some degree, that's almost a problem with our culture in that we think speed and growth are the most important things.
Exactly.
But often the speed of your growth is what's going to kill you. Like almost all companies, like 99% of companies, if they try to grow fast, they will fail because they're not going to scale their infrastructure in the right way along the time. They're not going to continually evolve their
nothing had a
structure.
chance.
They're not going to hire the right people. They're not going to have enough trust with their consumers. They're not going to have enough money in the bank to like fund that growth. Like there's so many ways that you can fail if you try to grow fast.
But you just don't take the time.
If you take your time and do it the right way, then sure, it might take you 10 years instead of 3 years, but by the time you get to that 10 years, you're going to have a very strong foundation under you. You're probably going to be valued at a lot more. You're going to have a lot more trust with your consumers. You're going to have a lot better understanding of what you do and how you do it. And it'll just be better all around, better for your employees, hopefully, because you aren't just chugging along trying to reach a certain number and then you're going to merge or sell and lay everybody off or something like that. You're building a stronger foundation.
I think it makes sense. I think you lose sight of what the game is. We've talked about this a lot the last little bit, Phil, is that you just need to spend a little more time on what you're really trying to do. And take a breath of air. Like seriously, you can grow, and you can grow fast if you want. To your point, most companies that grow, it's always the same thing. What goes up like a rocket ship typically comes down like a rocket ship with no fuel. Right? That's it. But you do, the steadier the gain, you've got time to do other things. You've got time to raise funds. You've got time to expand resources. You've got time to look at the resources. What do I need? What do I don't need? Maybe we find out I don't need this part, but I need other parts. When you're growing so fast or too fast, and there is a too fast, you lose sight of it. I think that by the time you realize it, you've hit a wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what?
One of the things we've started doing somewhat recently to try to support brands with all these kind of things is similar to what you guys are doing. We launched a podcast called Evolve CPG. So it's all about evolving the consumer packaged goods industry.
Very cool.
The main reason we're doing that is just exactly what you're saying. Like we want to share stories of people who've been in the trenches. Either maybe they're just getting started and they're doing something really cool, or maybe they've been in the trenches for decades and they've learned a lot of lessons or whatever, but just sharing some of those stories, I think it's super helpful so that people don't go into this so naively thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy industry. I just come up with a thing and I sell the thing and then I exit for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Billions.
There's a long path, a long journey on your way towards that, right? And learning from other people in the past, how they've done it or where they've tripped along the way and the failures that they've had. I think those are such important lessons.
I think it's funny, Kenny and I have been talking about this a lot. I teach a SEO class at a local college, and one of the things that the students didn't really understand, but got a pretty tough awakening to. So we were doing some SEO work, and I had said to them, when you get hired, because there's a bunch of them that actually want to do SEO, SEM, as a living. And I said to them, great, what the number one thing you've got to do, because anyone can write ads, anyone can do that stuff, you've got to pick the right brand to work for. And they went, oh, what are you talking about? And I said, look, like there are a lot of brands out there, but you've got to test that these guys know what they're doing, right? Like like that really resonates with me, that you've got to grow at the right speed, because so many times brands grow and they skip, not only is infrastructure not there, but even the way they talk to consumers. If it misses, everything trips, right? And so SEO is one of those. And so I gave them a couple of brands where like some really like huge success, but then when they went to write the ads, they all came back with about 50 questions going, wait, I don't understand how to write the ads, because these don't, when I write them, they don't come out sounding like the brand at all. And I said, so this is when you know, as an SEO person now, you now become a brand person because you've got to go back to the marketing team and go, guys, I don't understand. Like, how do you want me to
Well, help me.
sound?
How do you want me to sell this? I don't know how to talk about it.
On the website, you sound like this, but the ads sound like that. So what do you think is going to happen when we start throwing money against this, right? Is you're going to get unhappy customers, you're going to get cart abandons, like, you know, if you're like, I guess if you're a brand out there, it's what we're getting to is like, if you see those things, high abandon rates, unhappy customers, you know, you probably got disconnects in your messaging that you need someone like Modern Species to help you try and figure out, right, what that means exactly. This
like
kind of cool. I like
if
it.
you've got an amazing social media ad, it could be the best ad in the world, and it gets a ton of people to click over to your website. But then when they land on your website, if they're like, what the heck is this? I can't, maybe you can't find what you're looking for. You land on the wrong page, or the voice changes, or the product's not what you thought it was. They're just going to be like, whatever.
Well, they feel like clickbait, right? They're thinking, what the hell is that? That's not what you told me it was going to be.
I called it the Mad Men effect because everyone watched Mad Men and they kind of go, oh, like the one-liner, like, yeah, but the one-liner isn't a one-liner. It's like a whole website behind the one-liner, right?
It's a million
like,
lines to get to the one line.
Right. It's not gonna work.
I'm sure there are great ad agencies out there, but that's exactly why I didn't go into advertising. I went into branding instead, is because I didn't want to be the guy out there that comes up with a really clever campaign that just is empty. It's shallow. It's just a really fun headline, a cool image, or whatever, but you're not fixing the brand. You're not creating the disconnect, or you're not fixing that disconnect. You're not helping the business make better decisions or anything. You just somehow got them a bunch of clicks, and that's it. Whereas branding, it's like, whereas advertising is more like spinning facts, or spinning features or something like that to make something compelling. I felt like branding is more about the foundation and truth telling, right? You're trying to get to the core. You're trying to find the truth, and then you're just trying to tell that truth in a way that is authentic for that brand and really resonates with their target consumers, which if you are actually trying to solve problems in the world, it's going to resonate, right? But if your whole goal is, we want to make some money, then you've got to spin the crap out of stuff to try to figure out how to sell it. But if you have a real purpose as a business, like you're in that business to make the world better, to make people healthier, to fix a supply chain issue, whatever it is, then you've got great stories to tell. You don't need the spin anymore. You just need to tell the truth in a compelling way.
I think that's the way hopefully it might be going. Like, because, you know, your podcast sounds similar to our podcast, in that our whole podcast is what we do is we just tell stories. We tell your story. We tell brand stories. Like, we're more interested in, you know, why are you doing this? What's it about? How have you tripped? How have you not tripped? Who have you seen? What, you know, like all those types of things. Because at the end of the day, I think because I think it's probably a societal thing. We're rushing so fast to the end that you just don't ever start. Like, everybody, like I said at the beginning, like everybody just wants to get right to the Instagram and right into selling. And you're thinking, that's critical. That's what business is about. The output you're looking for is sales and profits. That's ultimately what you're most likely doing a business for. Right. But there's a billion things before that will help you get there. Like, if you have no story, if you have nothing to really offer, it's just not going to fly. Not in today's world, not with younger people. I mean, they're much more discerning than when I grew up. It was very different. It was on TV. The Procter told you to go to the store, you bought it. Coke told you to go to the store, you bought it, you did it. Now it's a whole different world.
There's a lot less patience and lower attention spans, right? So that also applies to when people want to launch a business or build a brand. that lack of patience and no attention span jumps over to that as well, and they just want to go from A to Z without hitting all the other letters,
right? Because but it's been on TV.
Amazon
someone
started with just one service, one product type, right? And then they grew piece by piece by piece.
True. He's practically at a desk by himself, right?
Yeah. I think that's part of the media's problem. Maybe it's just people consuming the media.
It's both,
and they're only reading headlines instead of reading the full
it's
article.
Both, and I think that's it.
Yeah, we advertise so much. The 20-something-year-old who, in the course of 2 years, went from being a poor college student to being a billionaire or something like that.
Right.
And we celebrate those stories, but you don't know everything that happened in between. You don't know all the privileges or opportunities that person had in the beginning. You don't know if that company is going to last for the for 2 more years after that, right? So we just hear these highlights of, wow, look at how cool this is. And then that's what these new aspiring entrepreneurs come out wanting to be like. They compare themselves to that success story instead of to the real story of the 99.99% of people who are in the trenches, hustling and working hard and learning the hard lessons and building the foundation and growing slowly over time. And then they become the, what we joke about as the 20-year overnight success, because you didn't hear about them until now, but they've been around,
right,
learning lessons for like 20 years. It didn't happen overnight.
It's all of that, right? It's from like the social networks, right? And the 1% of startups that make it there, to even if you like the Dragon's Den stuff is like that, right? It's you kind of get there and no one really realizes that when you go on Dragon's Den, like they make offers on TV, but they don't actually happen behind the scenes, right? And then you really don't see the 18, 20, 25, 30, 50 prototypes that they made before that aren't any good. We talked to one founder who she printed bags and printed the wrong bag, so she got like 10,000 of these bags kicking around that are like, oh god, nobody talks about those things.
But that's reality, and that costs money,
reality, right? Like,
that's not something you can't just fluff that away. When you're bootstrapping, mistakes when they happen can be quasi catastrophic, like really, but this is what we've become as a society when everything is a headline and everything is to get a click. Like there is no time. And this is why I love the fact that, it's sad, but when radio dies or died, and it really didn't die, but
radio's not going to die. It's just turning into
never
podcast,
will. It's
Kenny.
podcasting.
Come on now.
100%. That's where I was going to go. But when you saw radio go, or even print slipped for a long time, even print has come back to some degree, whether it's online or not. Like if you spend time reading something or listening to something, it changes. When you just read headlines all day and you never get into the content and you never look for what's this really about. It's a very shallow existence. Never mind for the individual, even for business. Like if that's what your goal is really, I have an idea, I'm going to throw it in something, I'm going to go to the shelf and I'm going to sell it for $1 trillion. Like that, okay, light it up. Join the 999,000 who didn't make it, because that's the reality of CPG, as you know. Most don't make it, or most make a living, but it's a tough living. It's great. It's fulfilling if you really enjoy it. I think we're all in CPG. We're either gluttons for punishment or we truly enjoy this process in this game, but it's not easy. Like nothing's easy.
Probably no business is easy, right? But CPG is especially hard just because of the massive amounts of money and the supply chain issues and
it's all
getting into retail and the supporting your retailers, and then you have to now figure out D2C and retail, and there's just all these things that these brands have to do. Whereas if you're just like, and I don't want to make it sound like this is an easy business model, but let's just say you're a local yoga studio, right?
Right.
You just have to worry about getting people in your area to know you exist, which is easier because you have an isolated area. You know where to advertise and who to talk to and what radio shows to get on. And then you need to just make sure you've got a good quality product. Make sure you hire good teachers in a decent space that's not full of mold or something like that. Like you just take care of a few fundamentals, and hypothetically speaking, things will work out. But when you're in a CPG company and that's trying to grow nationally, internationally overnight, like that's so many regions, so many places to try to reach consumers, and social media is not what it used to be, and you have to just
for sure
to get any exposure. And then what else do? You have to do events, you place ads, you do PR, you do like this giant mix of things. Any one of those things could take tons of money and tons of time to invest in, right? You could put tons of money into just PR and blow your entire marketing budget, but we're supposed to do all of these different things overnight and then somehow support all those customers. And then, like you said, you might scale one little mistake. Like I was just reading about Midday Squares and their UPC barcode didn't scan on some products, and they had to go and like sticker all these products across all their stores or whatever. But like imagine making that mistake when they're even bigger than Midday Squares, right? Like that is a huge mistake, but that's the kind of stuff that happens when you're moving so fast.
It's a big problem. I mean, the person that we talked about with the packaging issue, like you start getting into things, or like if a UPC is a problem, because we both were retail buyers. Like if you phone me and say, listen, just so you know that the barcode is probably not going to scan. Well, then my thing would be well, then guess what? You're probably very likely 100% for sure getting the product back. Oh, no, can you just overcode them? Yeah, I can. Once I get them back from the stores into the warehouse and ship them back to you at your cost. I'm not your center to clean up your shit. Get your stuff organized and then send it to me. Otherwise, you're getting it all back. Like they don't get.
But Kenny, it's bigger than that, right? Like, so if you're a brand, the answer is, oh no, just overcoding, right? But on the buyer side, it's like for you, it's 79 stores, right? For me,
it was just overcode,
right?
But I ain't doing it.
Overcoding, but that's 79 emails a day coming to me now at my desk going, hey, I got this one non-compliant. So if you're the only brand, 79 emails in one day probably isn't such a bad thing, but you're not the only brand. So now I got like 10 brands who have UPC coding issues. So now I have 10 times 79 emails from stores going, what do I do with these? What do I do with these? Right? Like, and I'm sending the same instructions out to 3 different people at the same store. So now I'm at 3 times 79 to try and fix one UPC coding issue, right? Like
that's why the one email is the easiest. Why the send back to warehouse, send back to vendor. Vendor made mess, vendor fixed mess. Right? So that's because I'm thinking, one email. One email. You sent me the email, I send one email. Get it out of my stores.
Take it out
and get it back to your warehouse. You figure this shit out. You should have taken your time and slowed down. And mistakes do happen. I get it. But this is what we were saying is when you don't take the 10 minutes or just breathe for a second. I know you want to get to $1 trillion. I get it. So does the retailer. So does everybody else in the mix here. Everybody wants to do well, but your mistakes could be, those could be catastrophic. They'll shut you down.
Yeah.
Have 1 million bars out in the marketplace and have 1 million bars come back. There's no revenue there. That's all expense.
I want to switch gears a little. You have some really amazing brands.
Yeah, cool brands.
I wanted to pick your brain around or whatever you want to share around how because I think the other part that's so interesting is you pick brands that match with your values, right? I think is what you said. So how do you go about doing that? And then you're still a small business owner. So are there moments that you kind of go, doesn't quite match, but could help pay the bills?
Yeah. Well, that's actually why I haven't scaled, or one of the reasons why I haven't scaled is because all my friends who run bigger agencies, that's the problem they're facing almost every single week or every single month is they've got huge payrolls to cover. And there's, opportunities coming in from brands that maybe don't align with their values or their team's values, but they're big paychecks.
They fund all the other
security
things.
Is like, you know what? I don't have to lay people off. And for them, that's the lesser evil. I'm going to take this project I don't really believe in, or it isn't interesting, or maybe it's even kind of bad for the world, but I've got to do it because I want to take care of my team. Right.
Right.
So the bigger you grow, the more you have to worry about your team constantly. Whereas if we stay small, we can be picky. So it's easier for us to make payroll and align to our values by staying small. Plus, I could also go into many reasons why scaling is actually usually bad for the kind of this type of business model. It doesn't necessarily make the quality of the product, like the quality of your design or your services, better per se. So that's part of the way we address that is by staying nimble so we can be a little bit pickier. With that said, sure, we've got lots of opportunities that come across our table. Maybe people didn't read our website or just got a referral or something like that, and they just obviously don't fit for those companies. We're not necessarily rude or anything. We just talk to them and tell
Go
them like,
away.
hey, this doesn't really fit us.
Well, it doesn't fit. It
but
doesn't fit, right?
here's
Yeah.
some other people that do great work. Go chat with them. Like that. That's totally fine. Like there are plenty of people out there who will support whatever that business is. But for us, we drew a line in the sand, and we just want to try to make work that has meaning to us, and we want to contribute to the greater good in some way. Because I mean, the main reason I went down this path is because before starting my agency, I did work on stuff that didn't fire me up, and that felt like all I was doing was making pretty trash or making rich people richer or whatever, and it didn't have any meaning.
Right.
And then I had projects that were these cool nonprofits or these small local businesses or whatever, and that stuff fired me up. So I thought, when I start my own agency, why compromise? Why don't I just do the stuff that fires me up? And then the deeper I got into sustainability and social responsibility and all these kind of big issues that we're facing in the world, I realized that, you know, fire me up is great. Like I love food and beverage and different things like that. And like I love going to trade shows and seeing what's hot and geeking out on food or branding or business or design or impact, whatever. But also I can use my business to help move the world forward. So climate change, for example, I think there was the book Drawdowns that listed 7 out of 10 of the top solutions for climate change were related to food, the food industry, food supply chain, that kind of stuff. So it's great that I happen to love food, but it's also a great area to focus on for my business, because I can help those companies scale solutions to the food problems that are causing a lot of climate change. So for example, one of our clients, Upcycled Food Association, we've started working with them during the pandemic. They were a new association getting started from a bunch of people in the industry that were all doing upcycling in some way, shape, or form. They were taking what would have been waste, like a byproduct from the manufacturing industry, for example, regrained. They take the spent grain from breweries and turn it into nutritious food instead of sending it down the pyramid to like animal feed or compost or something like that. They elevate it up to the highest use, which is, according to the pyramid of best use of resources, is human consumption or whatever, just based on the footprint. So there are brands like that. There were a bunch of brands like elevating food back up to its highest use. They were all using different words. They were all using different slogans. They were all had different standards, but they came together as a group to say, hey, let's unify on this so that we can move forward together in a bigger way. So they started the Upcycled Food Association. And then we came on when they were about to launch their certification for Upcycled Certified, so they could have an agreed upon standard, they could have agreed upon terminology, and then start scaling it. So we helped them develop the marks, the certification marks, which was really exciting for me, being a package designer, having worked with lots of marks and know how much of a pain in the butt those marks are to use. We got the opportunity to create one that was easier to read at small scales, easier for designers to use without messing it up, and so on and so forth. So that was a fun process. But we helped them with their certification marks so that when consumers see that mark, you know, with the consumer testing we were doing, it does increase likelihood of purchase and increase their interest in learning more about upcycled foods. So they see that mark on the package, they're interested, they research it, they realize that this product that they're buying helps fight climate change because it reduces food waste, and so on and so forth. So it's like those kind of causes, and helping organizations like that scale through our superpowers of design and communication, marketing, kind of brand skills, is so much more meaningful than me just helping some guy down the street get richer by selling some product that the world doesn't need. Like I like to hate on Coca-Cola just because it's a big brand, everybody knows it, but like I just wouldn't feel good about selling diabetes in a can like for my career. That just,
but you could take the sugar
out
and sell cancer in a can.
I don't think that product needs to exist. Like, why do we need however much sugar is in that can? Why do we need that much sugar consumed? Sometimes, like, I have friends that'll like consume a 12-pack of that stuff a day. It's like, that is just unnecessary. That's like borderline unethical, in my opinion.
It's not even unnecessary. It's just
so many advertising agencies hang their hat on / get excited about working for Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
It's a big brand with big budgets and you get to do cool stuff. But for me, that just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right to use my limited time on this planet / my superpowers to help companies just sell more diabetes in a can or whatever it is. I'd rather help companies like Upcycled Food Association scale problems or scale solutions to massive problems that we're all facing and that future generations are going to be facing much harder.
I think, I don't know, Kenny, you can tell me if I'm off, but I think even the two of us, because Kenny and I spent a lot of time encouraging consumption.
So I got paid.
And I think we're pretty good at it. Unfortunately, right? But over the years, like, that was the thing until we realized, no, this is a bad thing, right? Like we, getting people to buy more is not a really good answer. So it actually does feel good when we're working with companies that are trying to do good things, right? Like to me,
buy
that's
more of the right stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I laugh. Like you're upcycle. First off, I love upcycle. I love the whole concept of upcycling.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I found when I hit your webpage was the upcycled, and what I found really cool, because it sort of went to back to is, when you think, Coca-Cola and the Unilevers, Del Monte, you think big multinationals that don't give a shit. And it's funny because I look at it and I saw the Del Monte and I stopped. I thought, wow, that doesn't seem to fit. And yet, you've got a large multinational that probably has issues, but I love the fact that they're actually trying to do this. And again, remember, we all know what the outputs are. So let's get off that part. These are businesses. This is what the function is to it's to generate a profit. That's why people go into business. But I love the fact that you weren't a snob about it and you looked at it, because it is a very large company that has other challenges. That's cool. Like, I think the whole concept of upcycling it was probably needed a long time ago, and maybe it wouldn't have put us in so much of the shit we're in now if we learned how to do that. I mean, if you think of old school farming, all of that, what came out of the animals went back into the earth to all the whole cycle, right? Not using the lousy cut beans that have the same everything, the same taste, the same nutritional value, same quality, everything's the same. It just doesn't look good, whatever that means, even, because I don't even know what the hell happened. I don't know how we all got to saying every bean looking the same looks good. It just looks the same. Like there's variety is kind of
like we pay a premium for heirloom tomatoes that look awkward.
Exactly. I mean,
it's true.
Because I have a small grocery. Like the best apples that I like are the bin that looks like a shit show. There's 50,000 sizes in this. Like, because you're thinking, okay, that's sort of what comes off a tree. No tree produces the same looking, same size, same weight, same color apple. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you worked with someone like a Del Monte, because the connotation, especially when CPG took long enough, wouldn't be necessarily positive. But the fact they're doing stuff like this and trying as a bigger company to actually make a difference, good on them. And good for you to not be snobby about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, we're a B Corp and we work with lots of B Corps as well, right? But like, there are giant international corporations going through B Corp certification or getting some of their brands B Corp certified. And
good.
And part of what I wanted to do when starting Modern Species is not be the purist, by which I mean, y'all remember the Portlandia show where it's like, they just go to extreme of Portland being like more sustainable than thou, kind of like everything's a competition. And we wanted to be more about like progress over perfection. And for me, it's more about whether or not you have authentic intentions to make an impact, or if you're just doing it because it's a good marketing play.
Right.
And if I sniff out that whatever this thing is that you're asking us to help you with is just a pure marketing play, a greenwashing thing or something like that, then no, I'm not going to help you out with it. But if you're not perfect, but you're doing something to help the world,
you're trying
in a meaningful way, and you're trying to change as an organization, and change takes time, great, we'll help you with that change.
Absolutely.
We'll help you do it the right way rather than doing it the crappy way, which I think if you don't think about things a little bit more holistically, like one of the things I like to talk about is that there's this invisible system that's all around our decisions that we're making, and we don't necessarily know, but when we pull this lever, 10 other things happen, right? So when you're trying to do sustainable design, if you're not thinking about the whole system you're designing within, you might actually cause more harm than good.
Right.
You might say, like, I'm going to use this material because it's quote unquote recyclable, but then it's not in the right form, or you didn't put the right symbol, or you didn't communicate to the consumer, or you didn't think about those more systemic things. And now you used a material that is technically recyclable, but you implemented it in a way that it's never going to get recycled.
Right.
You actually maybe just did more harm
Right.
by doing that. Good intentions.
You tried, but
bad
you didn't
execution, right?
follow through. Yeah.
So for me, it's about, like I said, progress over perfection, and thinking about the whole system and just trying to move forward in whatever ways we can, because the system is broken. The world's not perfect, and it's going to take time to get there. So we just need to work together incrementally to make progress towards a more sustainable, ideally a more regenerative kind of society, right?
Yeah. Good for you, young man.
Love
Very
this.
nice. Love it.
Really love this.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm glad we finally got this one together. Very
Thanks for coming on. This has been
I really enjoyed
we're
that.
glad to have you. Yeah, this is really cool, and it's awesome to see you kind of approaching the business in a way. I think it's
I like it.
Yeah.
Appreciate
really
it.
love it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it's wonderful.
Man. I find joy in it, of course. Like, it's nice to do something you love, but to do it for companies that you really enjoy, and at the end of the day, feel like whatever you and those people are doing together,
hopefully it's making a
maybe
difference.
Difficult and stressful and challenging, whatever, is actually doing something good, right, for the world. I think.
Yeah.
I personally couldn't do it another way, I think. So I appreciate that I've got the privileges I do to be able to do what I do and not have to worry about it at the end of the day. Some of it's hard work, but some of it's, I'm in a position where I can make these tough decisions and turn projects away that don't fit. So that's also nice.
Love it.
Good for you, man.
Okay, so a few things. So can you share, and then we'll put the links in the podcast notes, but your podcast, and then where people can find you and where people can find Modern Species.
Sure. So Modern Species can be found at modernspecies.com. One of the reasons we loved that name is that we could actually get the domain. But you can find us there. We're on various social medias. To be honest, we don't do a lot of social media stuff through Modern Species. We're a little bit quiet on a lot of fields there, but maybe LinkedIn is what we're updating most these days. Evolve CPG. We have the podcast, which you can find on all wherever you find your podcasts. If you just type in Evolve CPG, you can find us. Subscribe, like, share with whomever you find would enjoy that kind of content. And then if you're in the industry, we also have a community at community.evolvecpg.com, where we are just uniting folks in the impact-driven CPG space to just try to figure out how we can help each other out, grow our impact, or grow our brand, scale our impact. At the moment, it's mostly like a forum for discussion and just swapping resources and connecting with each other. But in the nearish future, we're hoping to launch more of like growth groups and classes and different things like that, just pulling experts in from the industry and having them kind of teach each other how they did it, so we can all do more good. So you can check out those platforms. I could list off some other resources, but I'll just leave it there. But if you just follow Evolve CPG or Modern Species, Evolve CPG is also mostly LinkedIn promotion or posting right now as well. We don't do much on our Instagram page or anything like that, but and then I personally can be found on LinkedIn as well, where I'm trying to post somewhat regularly about purpose-driven business or leading with heart or sustainable design or anything like that on LinkedIn as well, which you can just find me at Gage Mitchell on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That was really good. I really appreciate you coming on.
We
it was good
really
talk.
appreciate you coming
thanks for having me on. It was fun chat. Appreciate what you guys are doing out there, sharing the stories. Like you said before, I think those stories are, you can read about a business case study on paper, but I feel like where the meaning really comes through is hearing the story, hearing the emotion, hearing the challenges, hearing how it affected them personally, or how it affected their team, or whatever. That's the powerful stuff for me. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
No, likewise. Okay,
Thanks,
my
Gage.
friend, you have a very nice day. Mr. Chang, you stick around.
Yeah.
Gage, was awesome meeting you, man. Hopefully maybe we'll have another chat with you in the new year. See where you're at, see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy holidays to you both. Cheers.
Thanks, man. You too.
Thanks,
Take
Gage.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Awesome.
Interesting.
That's really cool. This is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what he's
Yeah.
I like what he's doing. I do. I actually it's kind of to the point where you stop and yeah. You know what it's like, and not gonna, because we're not gonna piss off future guests, is that every time you have an agency or something like that, you're kind of thinking, where's this gonna go? It's gonna be like a massive sales pitch. And or that, like, now you're into the sort of the madman feel.
Yeah.
And yet no, he's a very grounded driven young man.
Yeah.
I
liked
that.
it. I thought
yeah.
And then I think we did not quite what we normally do. So we didn't kind of ask him for his origin story, but I think because what he brings, it's also not what other agencies do, right? Like, he's very focused on...
I think that's why probably didn't go down that path.
Yeah,
I think I was I was compelled right away.
Right? So
I'm trying to understand, because I know you're an agency, because but you're not. And there's not many that have been able to not be the agency. Like, I think it's unfortunate. It's like everything seems to funnel down, and you end up where you may not have wanted it up there, but you seem to end up there, right? I'm not saying all the time, but definitely within this part of the world of marketing and things, it seems to, they all seem to come out the same.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was good.
No, I liked it. It's awesome.
Okay, buddy boy.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Appreciate it.